Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's headlines, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's opposition to a two-state solution with the Palestinians continues to raise concerns amongst the international community. The Islamic Republic of Iran is pressing the P5+1 to agree to start easing some restrictions on its nuclear program earlier than Western countries are willing to accept. The United Nations says that the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant may have committed genocide in trying to wipe out the Yazidi and Christian minorities in Iraq. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's opposition to a two-state solution with the Palestinians continues to raise concerns amongst the international community. United States President Barack Obama called Netanyahu last night, in which he congratulated the Israeli leader on his re-election. Obama stressed during the phone conversation that he views the two-state solution as the only viable option to reach a peaceful outcome to the decades-old conflict. Meanwhile, a senior White House official said that President Obama had informed Prime Minister Netanyahu that Washington would re-examine its approach to the peace process after Netanyahu had reneged on his consent to the establishment of a Palestinian state.
What is apparent is that in the context of the campaign, and while he was the sitting prime minister of Israel, he walked back from commitments that Israel had previously made to a two-state solution. As recently as December of last year, the United States House of Representatives, on a voice vote, so essentially without objection, passed the U.S.-Israel Strategic Partnership Act, in which the pursuit of a two-state solution was identified as our goal to resolve this conflict. So it is, as we mentioned yesterday, cause for the United States to evaluate what our path is forward given the Prime Minister's comments.
In related news, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said he was worried over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's opposition to a Palestinian state, which he expressed the day before his victory in Israel's general election. Netanyahu's declaration was a sweeping statement that contradicted his past commitments, as well as 2 decades of international efforts to arrive at a two-state solution to the conflict. The last round of peace talks broke down in April of 2014, and Netanyahu has said repeatedly that he did not view President Mahmoud Abbas, who struck a unity deal with internationally recognized terror group Hamas, as a partner for peace. Western diplomats acknowledged that getting Netanyahu and Abbas back together to negotiate is highly improbable. Meanwhile, Netanyahu's dismissal of a two-state solution will encourage the Palestinians to again seek recognition via the United Nations and other international institutions.
لن نتراجع عن مواقفنا في تأييد الشرعية في المطالبة بتحقيق الشرعية الدولية، ولذلك نحن من حقنا أن نتوجه إلى أي مكان في العالم من أجل أن يتحقق الحق وتحقق الشرعية الدولية.
In response to the international criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu's statements, the Prime Minister said he had not reneged on the Bar Ilan speech in which he agreed to a two-state solution, but that the conditions for achieving it did not exist today, since Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas consistently opposed recognizing Israel as the Jewish state and had even made an alliance with Hamas, which calls for Israel's destruction. Netanyahu noted in an interview with Fox News that conditions in the Middle East had changed and that any territory from which Israel would withdraw would immediately be taken over by terrorists supported by Iran or by the Islamic State organization. With regard to the U.S.-Israeli relations, Prime Minister Netanyahu said in an exclusive interview to NBC News' Andrew Mitchell that the bond between the two countries was unbreakable.
I think there's an unbreakable bond between Israel and the United States. The President said that. I've said that.
Now to the ongoing nuclear negotiations. The Islamic Republic of Iran is pressing the P5+1 to agree to start easing some restrictions on its nuclear program earlier than Western countries are willing to accept. According to officials, this is one of the sticking points that divide negotiators from both Tehran and the P5+1, the United States, Russia, China, France, Britain, and Germany, in Switzerland, as the end of March deadline for a framework agreement approaches. According to European diplomats, it is unlikely that an agreement would be reached by the end of the month due to Tehran's failure to compromise. Meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama, in a message to Iran's people and leaders, said this year represented the best opportunity in decades to pursue a different relationship between their two countries. Obama said the nuclear talks showed signs of progress, but that gaps remained.
This year we have the best opportunity in decades to pursue a different future between our countries. My message to you, the people of Iran, is that together we have to speak up for the future we seek. As I've said many times before, I believe that our countries should be able to resolve this issue peacefully with diplomacy. This is what's at stake today, and this moment may not come again soon. I believe that our nations have a historic opportunity to resolve this issue peacefully, an opportunity we should not miss.
Israeli Minister of Agriculture Yair Shamir, who is visiting Buenos Aires, called on the world powers not to hold talks with Tehran over the future of its nuclear program, and said that it was Iran that had planned the terror attacks on the Israeli embassy and the Jewish Community Center building at the beginning of the 1990s in the Argentinian capital. Shamir said at the memorial ceremony for the victims of the embassy attack that Iran continued to show fear and ruin throughout the world, yet the world was hypocritical and ignored its actions. Now to the ongoing atrocities committed by the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant. The United Nations said that ISIL may have committed genocide in trying to wipe out the Yazidi and Christian minorities in Iraq, as well as war crimes against civilians, including children. In a report based on interviews with more than 100 alleged victims and witnesses, the UN Human Rights Office urged the UN Security Council to refer the issue to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, to prosecute perpetrators, including foreign members of the Islamic State group.
Clearly, international war crimes, crimes against humanity, and possibly genocide appear to have been committed during this conflict.
No community has been spared in Iraq from ISIL's violence, including the Yazidis, the Christians, Turkmen, Sabamandians, Kakai, Kurds, Shia, and indeed the Sunni. Essentially, what we're seeing is the rich ethnic and religious diversity in Iraq that's been shattered completely.
According to a UN report, some 3,000 women, children, and some men are currently held captive by ISIL. The report notes that mass graves were being uncovered in areas recently retaken by Iraqi government forces from the Islamic State. ISIL has treated captured women and children as so-called spoils of war, often subjecting them to rape or sexual slavery.
We found that a consistent pattern where men and boys over the age of 14 were separated from women. They were taken to locations where they were summarily executed. Witnesses reported attacks on girls as young as 6 and 9 years old. And this involved repeated rape, sexual abuse, and, as I mentioned, selling of girls and transfer of girls.
Thank you for watching us. You can also watch us at TV7israelnews.com or TV7.fi. For any comments, please send your emails to israelnews@tv7.fi. For more updates from Israel and the region, please join our Facebook page at TV7 Israel News. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hessen. Have a Erev Tov and Shabbat Shalom. We will see you again on Monday at the same time.